You were never supposed to find this message today, not now. Not after everything you have been carrying in silence. Not after all the nights you convinced yourself that nothing was changing, that every prayer disappeared into an empty sky, that every hope you protected inside your heart was slowly fading away. Yet here you are, reading these words, and something inside you refuses to leave. It is almost as if your soul recognized this moment long before your mind did. There is a reason your eyes stopped here. There is a reason your heart suddenly feels heavier than it did just a few seconds ago. And if you keep reading, you may discover that someone has been trying to reach you for much longer than you realize. Because somewhere beyond everything you can explain, someone is whispering your name, not once, not occasionally, every single day. You cannot hear the words with your ears, but your spirit has felt them. That strange pull you've experienced lately, those dreams that disappear the moment you wake up, those unexpected memories of someone you have never truly known, none of them happened by accident. Every sign has been leading toward this moment, yet one question remains unanswered. Why now? That answer changes everything. Your soulmate has reached a breaking point. They have smiled in rooms where nobody noticed the pain hiding behind their eyes. They have laughed while quietly falling apart inside. They have pretended they were moving on while secretly wondering if destiny had forgotten them completely. Every day they told themselves to stay strong just a little longer, but strength can become exhaustion when hope keeps waiting for permission to arrive. And now, after carrying more than anyone realizes, they have whispered words that shook the unseen world around them. I can't do this anymore. Those words were not spoken because they stopped believing in love. They were spoken because they feared love had stopped believing in them. That fear has become heavier than anyone knows, yet something unexpected happened immediately afterward. Something answered, not with thunder. Not with a miracle they could immediately see, but with movement, invisible movement, the kind that begins changing lives before anyone notices the first sign. And somehow, that movement has led directly to you. Perhaps you've been wondering why your emotions have felt different recently. Why certain songs suddenly bring tears to your eyes. Why random moments leave you staring into the distance without understanding why your heart suddenly aches. Maybe you've blamed stress, coincidence, or simple imagination. But what if none of those explanations are true? What if your soul has been responding to another soul that has been calling for you across distance, across time, across circumstances neither of you created? The thought sounds impossible, yet impossible things have always been where destiny begins, because real connections are rarely loud. They arrive like quiet rain. Soft enough to ignore, powerful enough to change everything. Your soulmate never imagined they would reach the point where surrender felt easier than believing. They spent years trying to become someone strong enough for the future they dreamed about. They worked. They sacrificed. They healed wounds nobody else could see. They walked away from people who could never love them the way they deserved. They kept waiting for the moment when everything would finally make sense. Instead, silence answered them, day after day. Month after month, year after year, until they started asking a dangerous question. What if the person meant for me doesn't exist? That single question began changing everything inside them, because doubt has a way of growing quietly. It never arrives screaming. It whispers. It convinces. It slowly replaces hope with survival. And your soulmate has been surviving for far too long. But there is something they don't know. Something you don't fully know either. Every delay you've experienced, every closed door, every goodbye that shattered your expectations, every relationship that collapsed despite your best efforts, none of it was random. It was painful. It was confusing. It was unfair. But it was never meaningless. Because destiny has never been interested in convenience. It has always been preparing timing. There were parts of your heart that still needed healing. There were lessons your soulmate still needed to learn. There were fears neither of you could carry into the future waiting ahead. You both believed life was denying you happiness. In reality, life was protecting something neither of you were ready to receive. The hardest truth about love is this: sometimes the greatest gift arrives only after every false version has fallen apart, and lately, those false versions have been collapsing faster than ever. Have you noticed? People disappearing without explanation, unexpected endings, old memories resurfacing, strange moments that make absolutely no logical sense. Even your intuition has been louder than usual, almost as though someone unseen keeps trying to get your attention. That isn't your imagination, it's preparation. Because while you've been wondering whether your future has forgotten you, your future has been moving toward you with every passing day. Meanwhile, your soulmate has reached another sleepless night. The room is quiet. The world outside continues as if nothing is wrong. But inside their heart, an invisible battle refuses to end. They close their eyes. They whisper one final prayer, not demanding, not angry, simply exhausted. If they're real, please let something happen. Those words carried more honesty than anything they had spoken in years. And when heaven hears honest hearts, things begin shifting. Not instantly, not dramatically, quietly, like sunrise before anyone notices the light. The first sign has already appeared. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't a mysterious stranger. It wasn't some impossible miracle. It was you feeling that strange sense that something is changing, even if you cannot explain why. You thought it was coincidence. Your soul knew better, because souls recognize movement long before minds understand it. There is a reason your heart refuses to settle, a reason you've outgrown places where you once felt comfortable, a reason conversations that once satisfied you now leave you feeling empty. You're changing, not because you're trying harder, because you're becoming ready, and readiness attracts what desperation never could. Still, one obstacle remains: fear, not fear of being alone. Fear of being hurt again. You tell yourself you've healed. You've forgiven, you've moved on, but every scar still remembers its story. Every disappointment still whispers warnings. Every heartbreak quietly asks whether trusting again is worth the risk. Your soulmate carries those same fears. Different memories, different people. The same invisible walls, the same protective distance, the same silent question: what if this ends like everything else? That question has delayed more miracles than anyone realizes. Yet destiny has an unusual way of answering fear, not through certainty, through encounters, and one encounter is approaching faster than either of you expects. It won't look extraordinary at first. In fact, you might almost miss it. That is exactly why you must stay awake to what your heart is sensing, because life rarely announces the moments that rewrite your future. They often begin looking completely ordinary, until one conversation changes everything. Until one glance refuses to leave your memory, until one unexpected moment suddenly makes every previous disappointment make sense. Your soulmate cannot see that day yet, they only see today. Today feels heavy, today feels uncertain, today feels like hope is becoming too expensive to keep. That is why these words matter, because someone needs to remind both of you that the story isn't ending where the pain says it should. It is beginning where faith nearly disappeared. There is enormous difference between giving up and being one moment away from breakthrough. The hardest part is that they often feel exactly the same. Your soulmate believes they are standing at the edge of an ending. Heaven sees the edge of a beginning. You believe you're still waiting. Destiny sees you already walking toward each other. Neither of you can fully see the path, yet both of you are already on it. That is the mystery. That is the beauty. That is why nothing has unfolded the way you expected, because expectations create pictures, destiny creates reality, and reality is preparing something far greater than either of you imagined. Even now, while you're reading, something unseen continues moving. Doors are opening where neither of you can yet see them. Conversations are being arranged, decisions are unfolding, paths are slowly crossing. The distance between you is becoming smaller with every ordinary day that seems completely insignificant. You call it another day, destiny calls it another step, and somewhere tonight, your soulmate is sitting in silence, still wondering if anyone is coming, still asking if love has forgotten their address, still holding on by a thread they cannot even explain anymore. They have no idea that someone, somewhere, is reading words that were always meant to awaken something sleeping inside their own heart, someone exactly like you. The question is no longer whether destiny exists. The question is what happens when two souls stop running from the very future that has been searching for them all along, because the next sign won't simply ask for your attention, it will demand your courage. And when it finally appears, you will have only one choice to make before everything changes forever. If you'd like, I can continue this in the same cinematic style to 6,000 words while maintaining the continuous flow and ending on an even bigger cliffhanger. You may think courage is something loud. You may imagine it arrives like a sudden burst of confidence, like a voice that leaves no room for hesitation, like certainty so powerful that fear simply disappears. But that is not how destiny usually works. Destiny whispers before it roars. It invites before it reveals. It asks for one quiet step before it opens an entirely new road. And right now, even if you cannot see it, your heart is standing at that very invitation, while another heart is waiting without knowing your name. Your soulmate has spent countless nights replaying every choice they ever made. They have questioned every goodbye, every relationship that ended too soon, every promise that was broken before it had the chance to bloom. There were moments they blamed themselves. Moments they blamed life. Moments they looked toward heaven and simply asked, "Why?" But no answer seemed to come, and silence slowly became their closest companion. Yet silence has never meant abandonment. Sometimes silence is where the greatest answers are quietly growing, even though no one realizes it until much later. There is something your soulmate has never told another living person. They still believe in you, not because they know your face, not because they know your voice, but because something deep within them refuses to let go of the feeling that somewhere, somehow, there is one person who will finally understand everything they have never been able to explain. That feeling has kept them alive on days when giving up seemed much easier. That invisible hope has carried them through storms that nobody else ever noticed. Yet even hope becomes tired when it waits for too long, and lately they have begun wondering whether that quiet feeling was only an illusion. That question has become heavier with every passing sunrise. At the exact same time, something remarkable has been happening inside you. Perhaps you have noticed yourself letting go of people who once held your attention so easily. Perhaps conversations that once felt exciting now leave you strangely empty. Perhaps your heart has become more protective, more careful about who you allow into your world. You thought this was loneliness. You thought it meant you were becoming distant. But what if it is actually preparation? What if your soul has simply stopped accepting what no longer belongs in your future, because every season of your life has been teaching you something? Some seasons taught you strength, others taught you patience, some taught you forgiveness. The hardest ones taught you how to survive when your heart wanted to quit. You wondered why those lessons had to hurt so deeply. The answer has always been hidden beneath the pain. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Preparation rarely feels like a blessing while it is happening. It often feels like loss, like confusion, like unanswered prayers, like doors closing without explanation. Only later do you realize those closed doors were guiding your footsteps toward one entrance that was always meant for you. Meanwhile, your soulmate has reached another crossroads. An unexpected opportunity appears before them. It looks ordinary. It almost seems insignificant. They nearly ignore it. Something inside whispers, "Go." Their mind says no. Their heart hesitates. Yet they take one small step anyway, never imagining that this single decision will begin rearranging events far beyond what human eyes can measure. They cannot see that the invisible distance between your lives has already started shrinking. They only know they felt strangely compelled to move instead of standing still. Have you ever wondered why certain decisions seem so random until years later, you suddenly choose a different route, you accept an invitation you almost declined, you arrive 5 minutes earlier than planned, you delay a journey for reasons you cannot explain. At the time, these moments appear meaningless. But destiny speaks through ordinary choices more often than extraordinary miracles. The greatest turning points usually arrive wearing the disguise of normal days. That is exactly why you must pay attention now. Because ordinary is becoming extraordinary without announcing itself. There are signs surrounding you already. Not loud signs, quiet ones. A repeated number that keeps appearing. A song that follows you from place to place, a Conversation that strangely answers a question you never asked aloud, a sudden feeling that today somehow feels different from yesterday. These are not proofs meant to convince your mind, they are invitations meant to awaken your spirit. Your soulmate has been receiving signs too. They keep dismissing them, then another appears, then another, until even they can no longer explain the strange feeling that someone is getting closer, not physically, spiritually, emotionally, as though an unseen thread is slowly pulling two lives toward the exact moment they were always destined to share. Still, fear refuses to disappear completely, because healing does not erase memory. Your soulmate remembers betrayal, you remember disappointment, they remember promises that dissolved into silence, you remember investing your heart only to watch someone walk away. Those memories still whisper warnings. Be careful. Don't trust too quickly. Protect yourself. Those whispers sound wise. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they become walls that keep love outside instead of keeping pain away. Destiny knows this. That is why neither of you will be rushed. Neither of you will be forced. Instead, life is patiently creating moments that slowly soften the places where fear once built its home. One conversation, one unexpected smile, one shared laugh, one act of kindness, one moment that quietly says, "Maybe this time is different," and perhaps it truly is, because your story was never meant to repeat old chapters, it was always meant to write a new ending. There is another truth you have not yet considered. Your soulmate has prayed for someone exactly like you without even realizing it. Every time they asked for honesty, they were unknowingly asking for you. Every time they prayed for peace instead of drama, they were unknowingly asking for you. Every time they begged heaven for a relationship built on trust instead of fear, they were unknowingly describing you. The same has been happening in your life. Every lesson has been refining your vision. You no longer chase what merely looks beautiful. You long for what feels genuine. You no longer want temporary excitement. You crave lasting peace. Without noticing, your heart has become aligned with the very heart that has been searching for yours. That alignment cannot remain hidden forever. Soon, circumstances will begin changing more quickly than you expect. People will enter, others will quietly leave. Plans you depended on may suddenly shift. At first, it may seem unsettling. You may wonder why everything feels uncertain all at once. Do not mistake movement for chaos. Sometimes heaven must rearrange the stage before the next scene can begin. Your soulmate is living through those changes already. Something familiar is ending. Something unknown is beginning. They cannot yet see the purpose behind it. Neither can you. But purpose does not require your understanding before it begins working. It only requires your willingness to keep walking. And this is where the story becomes even more mysterious, because there is one secret your soulmate has never spoken aloud. There was a moment, a single quiet moment, when they almost stopped believing they deserved love at all, not because they stopped caring, because they became convinced they were simply too damaged, too late, too complicated, too broken. They never imagined that somewhere in this world there was someone whose own scars would one day become the bridge instead of the barrier. That person is much closer than either of you dares to imagine. The unseen thread has grown stronger, the waiting is becoming shorter, the silence is preparing to speak. Yet before destiny allows your paths to cross, one final lesson still waits to unfold. It is a lesson neither of you expected. It will arrive suddenly. It will test everything you believe, and when it happens, you will face a choice that seems small in the moment but will quietly determine whether the next chapter begins exactly as it was written, or whether fate asks you to wait just a little longer. The signs are already moving toward that moment, and before the next sunrise. Changes more than you ever imagined, one message, one decision, and one impossible coincidence, are about to collide in a way neither of you could ever predict. You have probably called it coincidence before. A chance encounter, a delayed appointment, a missed phone call, a road unexpectedly closed, a conversation you never planned to have. Life has a way of disguising its greatest miracles as ordinary interruptions. You only understand their meaning when you look backward. In the moment, they often feel inconvenient, frustrating, confusing. Yet those very moments become the invisible bridges that connect one destiny to another, and the next bridge is already being built beneath your feet without asking for your permission. Your soulmate has no idea how close they came to walking away from the future that has been waiting for them. That night felt different. The silence was heavier. The room seemed colder than usual. Every unanswered prayer echoed louder than every hopeful one. They stared out of a window, searching for something they could not name. They weren't looking for a person anymore. They were looking for a reason to keep believing. They whispered, almost too quietly to hear themselves, "If this love is real, if they truly exist, please don't let me lose hope tonight." Then something happened, not a miracle anyone else would have.